the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jeff, can you please do roll call?
Tim Aguademos.
Present.
Todd Clemens.
Yep.
Erica Connor.
Yes.
Don Cox.
Yep.
Mary Demore.
Here.
Art Schneider.
Here.
Craig Verts. Jeff Vokel here. Cherry Winchowski.
Excused. All right, this is an open meeting and has been noticed as such. Next up, we have citizens' comments.
We don't have any citizens' comments.
Next.
If I could just, real quick,
Yep.
just a reminder, there's two things at your table. One is a hard copy of the minutes that Tom emailed this weekend, and then also an updated calendar option, which I'll explain later. And then real quick, I want to say thanks before I forget to the board members that were able to attend the Education Foundation dinner. I know you guys were chatting about it ahead of time here, and it really turned out nice. We had a great turnout, and the facility was excellent. And we also had some students speak.
Yep.
And Max was one of those students. He really did a nice job talking about the IT Academy. So thanks, Max, and thanks to the board members that attended.
Yep.
All right.
What about the ones that bought?
And thanks
Seats,
to
yeah,
those that
yeah.
bought tickets but then could not attend.
Yeah, because our games
Still
were
got your
changed
money.
last minute. Yeah, I got my money.
All right, next we have approval of the minutes of September 26, 2016. Do I have a motion?
Remove.
Okay, so a motion, Jeff, second.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, on to action items. We have the Neola policy updates.
So I just want to make sure everyone is comfortable with this process. So twice a year, our Neola representative, Richard Zimmern is his name, he's a former superintendent, he brings us updates from Neola. And those updates are often, and I explain this in the notes, due to changes in language, due to changes in state or federal law, so we remain in compliance. It's a real nice feature of belonging to Neola that we make sure that our policies are going to remain up to date. So there is no major changes as far as the spirit of the policies. It's not like we're adding graduation credits or changing anything major with these policies, but there is language change. I gave you an example in the packet in the notes that one of the changes, instead of saying this is antiquated language that we've used in the past, disabled students, now we say students with disabilities. So a number of policies got changed with that type of language. Otherwise, it's compliance with state and federal law. So I'm okay with however you want to proceed with these changes. If you want to go through them policy by policy, if you just want to ask questions tonight about these changes that are described in the yellow packet that we included with the board packet, or if you want to waive the second reading and approve them all tonight, that it's up to you. Or you want to approve some tonight, entirely up to you how you want to proceed with this.
All right, is there any discussion?
Any
Anybody have
thoughts?
questions?
I think if it's just minor language things, like if it's like he gave the example of, I don't think we really need to go through them. In my opinion, policy by policy.
And in the yellow ones, I mean, I read through but we don't, do we highlight it, what was changed, like it used to be? We don't. I didn't see any.
So in the yellow packet,
Yeah.
no. In the, in the folder
If you-
with the board
Oh, online?
online, right?
Then it's italicized.
Then you
or
can
what?
see what the change, they're bold,
Okay.
and you can see what
And
changes
there's no
Laura
way
made.
of printing those up.
Well, we could
we would
have,
just
but
have
since there's
to.
so many, I
Right.
didn't think that you'd want me to print
Okay.
up that stack
Well,
of
no,
paper.
just so we know how to find that, because I was looking through the ones that,
And if you
The ones in
want to
advance.
see them, we can bring hard copies for the October 24th meeting, and that's fine. I don't have a problem printing them off. I just figured I'd wait to see if you guys wanted them printed them off before I brought a stack of.
well,
As-
if they're online, yeah, if you can see the changes, as long as I personally can speak for myself, I guess. if I know now that that's where I see the changes, you know, in bold, then I would be able to go online and see them myself. That would just be my responsibility. So no, I'd agree, I don't need to see them all. Hard copy.
Then I'm assuming you wanna wait till the 24th, next meeting?
If you want to waive,
Well-
it's up to you guys.
Anybody else?
My thought
At
was
this-
that there's a number of them here, I don't think it would hurt any to at least give us a chance to have the month to
Mhm.
review them. And then, so I would rather not waive the
First reading.
first
Okay,
reading.
alright. Does anybody else have any questions then?
Yeah,
Okay,
none of them
so-
are, they're already instituted, there's already things going on, it's not brand new, we have to rush on it.
No, there is no rush.
So
Okay,
it's just verbiage and stuff, yeah.
It's just verbiage.
okay, so then we'll look them over and then be prepared to vote on
And
the
it'll be
next
quick.
meeting
Yeah.
on the 24th. Okay, alright.
That's the only action item that we had, so then we can go to committee reports, and we're gonna do the learning committee materials first.
Summer school review?
Sure. So Ben and Nick are here to
Sorry.
give a brief synopsis of the summer school program from 2016, excuse me.
All right, so as Sean said, Nick and I are going to review the summer school data for you, and I will talk a little bit about the elementary data, and Nick will talk a little bit about the secondary data. So you have the data in front of you there. You can see that, as a reminder, we have generally run 2 summer school sites. We've run the Eagleville program and then what we've called District Summer School, which has historically been at Clarendon. This year there were some changes. You can see the Eagleville numbers were very good again this year. That's the 4th straight year they've gone up. We had about 155 students there this year. And then in terms of elementary summer school this year, we actually had 2 sites. And part of that was due to the aforementioned construction out front on Highway NN. And so we shifted that to Rolling Hills, but also to help facilitate some attendance on the other side of our district over by Big Bend. We hosted a site at Big Bend as well. Even despite that, our numbers were a little bit down for what we would call the district summer school program, that 4-week program. We traced that back to a couple of things, but one of the big ones was Clarendon's data dropped. If you go to the second page to the back of that handout, you can see that we've broken down by year the attendance at each building, or from each building, I should say. So, for example, that top line at Big Bend, it shows how many Big Bend students attended district summer school. We accomplished the goal of increasing participation there. Clearly, that number was almost double. But you can see that Clarendon's number, for example, dropped by a pretty substantial amount there as well. The other buildings, with perhaps the exception of Section that had a little bit of a drop, were pretty equivalent. Oddly enough, Rolling Hills, for example, had the exact same number the last 2 years, despite being hosted at Rolling Hills. So part of that we know, Clarendon, some of our families at Clarendon, having worked with those families, I can tell you that transportation was an issue for a few of them. And so that, I'm sure, was a big part of that. But again, our Eagleville numbers were very solid for that 4-day program, and our district elementary perspective, a little bit down.
Just looking at the Clarendon number, going back to 2014, it's less than half what it was then. Do we know why this has been a kind of a 2-year trend to drop like that? I mean, we have this issue out here, but that didn't exist last year.
No, I think going from 2015 to 2016, I think the transportation issue is one of the bigger issues. I really do. I don't have a single thing that I can put my finger down for 2014 to 2015, and that was, as you can see, about a 38 student drop. So I don't have a particular explanation to give you on that one, but there definitely is a big drop, and hopefully when we can resume having summer school at Clarendon again next year, hopefully we can see that number pick back up again.
I would like to, personally, I would like to see Clarendon and Big Bend next year to continue. I mean, Big Bend, I think it's a no-brainer, having it that far away, that we would offer that. As well as, you know, I think you guys can reevaluate the program that is in the elementary summer school. I could track back the years. I know we switched a little concept that I wasn't really thrilled with. And I almost would be able to say, well, the ones that were there the first year weren't as impressed with it either, and it diminished. So, I mean, just look at how it is. I think what we were doing was great. What we were doing, not necessarily, in my opinion, I'm only one board member and one parent. So, you know, just evaluate what the program is that we're doing in elementary. You know, if we can make it a little more exciting, a little more free, a little more, you know, we always had a lot of attendance with the gym, and art and different things, activities, before we just kind of reformatted it.
What year did that
Definitely.
reform?
I think the first year that we've done that we did the program this way was 2013, so it's just prior to me starting, yeah.
What, oh wait, because I'm jumping.
Yeah, I have to agree with Art. I mean, having it at both locations, especially when, I know it's always the topic of concern of, you know, Big Bend, they're the low fruit on the tree when it comes to meeting the scores and all that. And I think at least having the core classes, at least concurrently at Clarendon and Big Bend, I think is a real good idea. So I'd like to see that also.
No, I was gonna jump ahead to middle school.
Because he didn't decide.
I don't think we're ready. to-
Okay, you wanna move ahead to the middle school, high school?
Evidently.
Okay. So, for the middle school and high school numbers, I provided a little more detailed information about the 2016 year, but also enrollment in 2015, just for a comparison. I think, as most of you know, we've been looking to increase the offerings, particularly at the middle school. Part of that was transitioning the sixth grade summer school program to Parkview, which only makes sense. Those students have graduated sixth grade. So the idea of graduating from sixth grade and then a couple weeks later going back to the elementary school for summer school wasn't that appealing, and certainly we saw that in our sixth grade numbers at the elementary summer school program over the years. So I think moving those students to Parkview really helped. So last year, we started that 2 years ago, moving sixth grade to Parkview, and due to some of the, I don't know what the right word is, some of the feedback that I think Lee Becky received, AP at the middle school, kind of runs the summer school program. I think the decision was made that those sixth graders could use a summer reading and summer math course just to help fill out the class offerings, and so that's where you see no sixth grade classes offered in 2015, but 43 students in those classes in 2016. I think largely just because of the enrollment. We wanted to be able to provide enough options for parents who wanted their sixth graders to attend summer school. In addition, we offered remedial classes to middle school students, a couple of more extension classes, and then a variety of enrichment classes. So that was the middle school. Yes, Jeff.
Two things, I'm just curious, would the moving of the sixth grade to the middle school be part of the reason that the number, like for example, Clarendon between last year and this year changed?
When I put the chart together for the elementary, I actually pulled the sixth grade.
Okay.
So then we were comparing
Okay.
like cohorts.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
No.
The other comment is the enrichment courses at the middle school. I think we need to, I mean, it's evident that that's popular. I mean, if you look at the numbers.
Well, we actually offered more courses, and so some of them did not run, and so these are the courses that ran. So just like when we get to the high school, we actually offered several more courses, and students could have registered for many more. I included the courses that actually had enough enrollment to run. So, you know, if a course only had 3 students that registered, you know, we had to close it. You can't staff a whole teacher for a course with 3 students. It's just not really feasible.
how do the remedial classes work? I mean, am I understanding it correctly? It's to pick up where, you know, they may have lacked during the year or whatever.
So it's students that failed.
Right.
Mhm.
So those are,
So they're trying to gain credit back in
So
order
those
to
are-
be promoted.
you are put into those
Yes.
Correct.
from your sixth grade teacher or your seventh grade teacher.
I should say
Or
these
is
are
it
only
all-
7th and 8th graders, so
So-
we didn't offer, 6th graders are promoted to the middle school, but there is an 8th grade promotion policy. In order to go to high school, you have to, satisfy certain
Right.
credit requirements. So these are 7th and 8th graders in these remedial middle schools.
Okay, I was just wondering, and I wasn't sure if the sixth grade, so the ones that are being challenged in sixth grade, I mean, do we give that opportunity to put them into those kind, or is, I mean, I guess you would be teaching sixth grade class then.
Right. My guess is
so-
that the summer.
But we're trying to prepare them for seventh grade.
I think that's the purpose for the summer reading and the summer math classes
Right.
that the sixth
And
graders are
so,
in.
and do we kind of steer them into that, or is that
Are-
the
are
sixth
those
grade
teacher recommended?
teacher, you know,
I think
how is
that they can be teacher recommended, based on,
I mean, would we recommend that? We recommend?
we recommend summer school to students that we think could benefit from it. So all of our teachers at the elementary level send home forms to parents saying, here's the data I'm basing this on, and here's my recommendation for summer school. So because that's all handled in-house for the elementary, that's where Sean's right, the summer reading, summer math came from, was we needed to have a course for those students that we thought, really could benefit from a summer reading, summer math refresher.
And so there's remedial at the seventh grade level for those sixth graders that might be challenged in math or English?
I would say it's probably
Math
at
and
that
reading.
bridge level, that, 6th to 7th grade, it's designed
Just a
knowing
bridge,
that
yeah.
it's sixth
Okay.
graders moving into 7th grade.
Okay.
So kind of piggyback on these remedial classes. So when you go to college, they got freshman orientation, I think. Everyone who's gone to college is going through it, and you got to do your one credit class to learn how to be a freshman. Do we offer anything similar in lines of that? Because I think from my own experience, I don't think we have too many kids that aren't capable of learning. In fact, I think they all are. And sometimes putting them to the side and saying, look, this is how you take notes. This is how you should basically work the fundamentals with them and to ensure that they have the proper structure to build their educational career on. I'm looking at these and I get the remedial programs, but do we offer some kind of basic skills,
So what you're talking about, if you remember last time, we shared information about that spectrum of programming for students, that need it. So at the high school, the
Like
RISE
goals.
program, and at the middle school, the ASP program, the Academic Support Program, would offer those kinds of structured study skills, work habits. That's where we would definitely recommend students be placed in order to learn those work habits and those study skills to be successful in middle school and high school. So, that's likely going to be more than a short summer program. We would support students throughout the school year with those needs, and as they learn those and they become more successful, then they exit out. And if students weren't initially recommended but then show signs that they need those skills, they can enter into a program like that.
Right. And then the other question I had too, as far as the enrichment courses, did we ever offer any science field lab portion?
Science lab or tech ed lab.
Something, let's say, it's basic chemistry or basic physics, where they actually put a little potassium in some water or
Right.
something like that.
I don't know that we've offered a science lab course. We have tried numerous times to offer a tech ed exploratory summer course at the middle school level. So like exploring woods, exploring metals. I don't recall that ever running. Sean, do you remember?
We can check.
A variety of courses. As I say, these are the ones that ran. But if you're interested in seeing the offerings that we put out to parents, we certainly could show you that. And then moving on to the high school, you can see we really only offered one traditional course, the calculus readiness. We offered several more options and just did not have the enrollment to run. Where we did see a lot of growth at high school is in the online courses. So lots of students, in fact, 2 full sections of students in Phi-Ed. So we had 2 teachers, each with about 60 students in the online Phi-Ed. We had 13 taking online health and 21 in the tech and society course. That's one of the IT Academy integrated courses. We also had students in the Gold Credit Recovery Program, which we talked about last time. So, any questions about high school?
Is there any opinion on high school, summer school?
Yeah,
How do you guys-
I was actually in 2 of those classes that he listed. I was in the online gym, and I think I told you guys about that with Focus Fitness.
Yeah,
And then
my daughter.
the other one I was in was the Tech and Society class with Mr. Sherbarth. And that was a spectacular class because being in the IT Academy, that was one of the prerequisites, and was definitely something I would not have been able to fit into my schedule had it been a class I had to take during the school year and wasn't offered during the summer. So I'm super glad that that class actually ran. And depending on how much reading you did in the class, I personally did a lot because I was interested in the subjects that they were talking about. But if you really did actually get involved and engrossed in what was being said instead of trying to just get assignments for a grade, you actually learned a whole lot about how society and technology really intertwine and really complement each other in the digital age that we're in. So I thought that was a really interesting class, and I'm really glad that I got to take that.
Any additional, I mean, in your opinion, or would you
Like-
like to see in the perfect world, or,
Like an additional course, or
Yeah.
ooh.
I mean, that you think kids would be interested?
Well, honestly, I really liked Mr. Agademus's idea of having like an actual physics or an actual chem lab summer course, even at the high school.
Yeah.
Because I know that some students are really interested in physics, they're really interested in chemistry, but they can't get by the mathematics portion. But they really excel in the labs that they do, and they really think it's interesting, you know, like you said, putting potassium in a little water or magnesium or something like that. It's a really interesting thing that can really go ahead and inspire students to go ahead and excel in whatever they want and really develop a passion for the sciences, something that's really hard to go ahead and, for some people, they're really hard to go ahead
It
and
might
really
give them
develop.
that motivation to
Exactly.
want to learn what they have to learn
Mhm.
to go into
Yeah.
that, if they really like the lab setting.
Exactly.
That's true, that's a good idea.
I would be interested, Max, in talking to you sometime about the feasibility of taking 2 classes. It's something that we talked a lot about, because they're 4-credit classes, and they are really the equivalent of a semester course that you're compacting down into 6 weeks. So taking 2 courses is could be a big load. So I'd like to talk to you sometime about how easy that was to do. I think the online course piece is something that we'll continue to look at for increasing options for students, because it is popular. And for the next couple of years, until we change our high school schedule, I think a lot of students are looking to take classes during the summer that are credit-bearing classes that will help their schedule.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, I'm taking freshman health for the first time my senior year because I was never able to fit it into my schedule because I was taking the 4 core classes, student government, German, and band. And so my freshman year, I couldn't even take gym or health. So I'm doing that now. But I think it'd be a really cool, you know, I've always, like, there are so many classes. Picking my schedule is so hard for me every year because I want to take all these classes. And my senior year is pretty much the only year where I've had any flexibility. And I've never had a study hall or anything. And I didn't even have a lunch last year, and I still can't even take a quarter of the classes that I wanted to take. So I think that'd be really cool to explore expanding those.
Yeah, definitely. And then finally, you can see the numbers in the speed, strength, and conditioning program continue to grow. This year we did offer sessions at the middle school for students who were at the middle school taking other courses. So that's why you see 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, or a few more 6th, 7th, and 8th graders than typically. We're up about 50 students in that program. Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, next up is the 2016-17 student assessment calendar.
So we're just sharing this with you because we talked briefly at the last meeting about assessments, you know, and some people had mentioned the feeling that students in the district were taking a lot of tests. It's true. You know, here's the outline of those tests. We tried in the memo just to give you a breakdown of about how long some of these tests take. Almost all of the tests, with the exception of STAR and AP exams, are required of our students. So these are statewide, or yeah, district writing assessment also. So STAR, district writing assessment, and AP exams aren't technically required, but all of the rest are part of the state assessment system. And then if you look at the back, you can see which grades are affected by each assessment. More of a FYI. Any
AP is
questions?
to select kids, right?
Right.
And the STAR is they get the results right away that year,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so that was a good thing.
Right, STAR is the test that we take in district to flag students that are
Right,
struggling so
right.
that we can intervene early
Yeah.
with them.
I wish we could get rid of them.
What replaced the battery exam? Was it board exam? Board exam.
Yep.
How has the writing assessment been used? Like, is it just the middle school and the elementary schools, or is that still going to be done at the high school? Because I know when it was at the high school and we skipped it last year, it was kind of like a joke. Like, it wasn't really taken that seriously, so.
Yeah, so I think when we first implemented the writing assessment at the high school level, there was a large focus on it, and it was actually a part of our accreditation, correct? And so it led to a focus K-12 for a number of years on writing, and then over the last couple of years at the high school, I think there was a feeling that it had kind of run its course and there were other priorities to focus on, and so in an effort not to keep layering more and more and more things on, that was one of the things that we decided to remove. It's still done twice a year at the middle school level and once a year at the elementary, grades 3 through 6, primarily just to gauge, you know, what we need to work on as a district or as a school in a classroom, you know, on writing, which is a really important skill. I will say that our district-wide focus on that for so long has really driven our writing scores up. So when you look at our 11th grade ACT writing scores, they're very high compared to other districts. So I think that that's a result of us focusing as a whole district on writing for so long.
And is there individual attention? Like if one student has, like a class is really doing well, but there's one student that's really kind of dragged down by or bogged down by the writing assessments and they kind of score poorly on it, is there additional help that's offered to that individual student rather than just looking at it as a district as a whole?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Particularly at the middle school level where they're doing a fall assessment and a spring assessment. That's the purpose, hopefully, is that that's being used in that way.
Tim?
So when you're saying about other districts, are you talking about local or within the Elmbrook area or Arrowhead? Are you talking nationwide for our ACT score?
For our writing scores, I'm thinking mainly southeastern Wisconsin. That's what I think of in my head when I do quick comparisons. It's hard because when you factor in national averages, we're usually significantly above national averages.
Anybody else? Okay. All right, move on. 2016-17 school goals report.
Okay. So I included all the school goal worksheets. This is the same format that we started using last year. On the front page, I just wanted to share a little bit about our focus for the entire district, and that really is on literacy development across content areas, across grades, and integrating that idea of giving students meaningful feedback on their development of skills in regard to literacy. You can see we've got other things obviously we're continuing to work on as a district, but that literacy focus you can see in all of the school goals. Each building has a literacy goal as their number one goal. So if you have any questions.
I have a question for the board. Would you like the principals to come back in the spring, as we have had the last 2 years, to report on their progress?
I do.
Okay.
I like,
Sherry stopped in today and
To
she
hear
said that
from
she would
them.
like to continue that practice.
and it keeps the contact with us.
Maybe after the April election. But absolutely.
All right, anybody else?
And Parkview is working on theirs, so we'll include that in a packet down the road.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay,
Alright.
thanks.
All right, superintendent's report, 4K input.
So I have a couple of things, but the first thing I wanted to take some time tonight is to talk about 4K. So we are now in our third year of 4K, or second year, excuse me, of 4K, and we've had some discussions about moving our 4K programs from our community partners into our own buildings. We had that discussion last winter, and we had some hard feelings. And so we want to make sure that we have the discussion tonight about what you would like to see us bring back to you so you can make a decision on whether or not we want to take a look at having 4K in our elementary schools or just keep it with our community partners, combination of both. What would you like?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Direct question. Do you want them in-house or do you want to keep them outside? What
Me,
does the
mys-
administration want to do? Because ultimately, it's going to be you who's going to be making, I mean, we discussed last time, there really wasn't a financial benefit either way. I mean, what do you prefer?
Not
So
that I care, but.
at the at this time, I am very comfortable with our 4K program being located with our 7 community partners.
Yes, I'm a community.
7 community partners, and possibility of another one for this coming year, or
Yeah.
next school year.
All right. And I'm comfortable with how we have it. Art?
I believe that it is working. I believe it incorporates a lot of other people into our community, our school community. I like it, the partnership outside. I also believe, if it's news to you guys, but that our enrollment will be increasing as we are going along, and we'd be opening a big problem if we started doing that. I'd rather be open to adding more community partners to cover those, larger classes. So I like the way it is, even though we agree.
I know way back when, many moons ago, when this first started, I was a proponent to have 4K in-house. And to this very day, I still believe that there's people out there that aren't gonna use 4K because they want it served at the school. That's the mindset as a parent that I always had was, I'm taking my kid to school, not to daycare. And for some people, that's the mindset they're gonna have. I can't be the only parent out there possibly that thinks that 4K should be in the school. On the same note too, I could see the benefit to subcontracting that 4K out and some of the liability that it alleviates from us. But on the same note too, I think we're losing business, to bluntly put it, by not having it in the school or at least trying it to see how many people would fight it. something that they don't want, the free economy will let us know. That's what I put it.
I don't have a problem if it's working and you're okay with how it's working now. My concern coming in-house is mainly, I don't think we could totally, if we were to bring some in-house, we could not do it completely. Because I don't think there's physical space to allow for it in every school.
So right now, we would not have a classroom available in every elementary school. We certainly have some of our elementary schools that have space. So, for example, Big Bend and Prairie View.
I have always been a fan of wanting them in schools. It's not something I'm gonna push for right now. Because of Art's comments, maybe eventually we won't have space for it. And I had friends who open enrolled from Waukesha into 4K in the Vernon area who are not able to get into kindergarten in McGuanago because it was full. So, hearing that now, I'm like, well, if we're already to that point where Big Bend wasn't able to open another kindergarten section, I guess is the big deal that I heard, which I was kind of like, huh, I wonder, really? So then I feel like, okay, we're opening up these community partners, so now we have a bunch of them, so everybody can get in for 4K. But now, I mean, that's supposed to be our in to the district, right? So like, let's pull more open enrollment, let's pull
Right.
more people started. But then if we can't offer them a seat for kindergarten, what's the point of having it so big?
So this year, we did have seats available in kindergarten, but not at Big Bend.
Right.
So if they said, I will only come to Big Bend for kindergarten, then we probably told them no.
I know, but then to hear, oh, but there's room in Big Bend to have K4, like, I'd rather have another
So
kindergarten class
is
and keep
there
people
a
all the way through.
classroom space? Yes. So what happened with Big Bend is they were right at the cusp of adding another section. So we were at, I think, 49 students in kindergarten. If we added one more student, an open enrollment student, we would have had to add another teacher. So we would have been getting the additional $6,500 or $6,600 for that student coming from Waukesha. However, we would have been spending the salary and
60 or
benefits for
70,000.
a teacher, and that's why we said no
Well,
to
I totally
open
understand
enrollment.
the logistics of that, but it does throw a kink in this whole 4K.
We
Yeah.
did encourage them to choose another school, so we would always let them know
Yeah.
that there's space at Clarendon, for example.
But that story sounds very familiar, being an ex-Eagleville parent, that we were cutting it off, and in the way that we did it, it just kind of sent them away. And, I mean, you know, if you open it up and all of a sudden they know they're open and it's not just one student then, you know, and that's what was happening at Eagleville. And, oh, we would have to add another class, so we're just gonna watch them die on the vine. And you have to be careful. There's, you know, if you open up that availability and the word gets out that it is a possibility, and that's, you know, you see these numbers on Eagleville, since we, as board, decided to support them and give them the obvious, you know, kindergarten, and the other, you know, it's like, you gotta be careful, because, yeah, we can control it, but do we wanna control it and then end up, we turned away 5 other kids that, you know, all of a sudden it made sense and we could figure it out some other way. We just have to be careful because it was done at Eagleville, and if we're doing that somewhere else. Because, again, they're way out there, they were way out there, and so these parents aren't all, you know, hey, we can get them anywhere, so, just a thought.
I understand your point. I think the unfortunate reality that we have to run into and that Sean and Nick have to deal with is that balance point of, okay, we can add that one and then we have another teacher, but that there's no guarantee that you're all of a sudden gonna have another 5 or 6 or enough to really
Right,
make the
but
math work. And we can't, we're not in that, we're not have the luxury financially to be able to take that leap of faith sometimes, and I understand
Sometimes,
your point.
sometimes.
But I think that's the problem that you have to deal with, and
I think our
And
record,
that's-
I think we have 465 incoming open enrollment students.
Right, but
We accept almost all of them. It's rare. It's the exception to the rule that we have to say no. And believe me, we don't like to say no. And we wait until the last possible minute to see if we can get them in, but for whatever reason. And I thought for certain Big Ben would have had a couple of more students walk in the door, resident students, for kindergarten. We would have been at 51 or 52, and we would have been able to call those open enrollment parents and say, hey, it worked out, you can come.
But how did the word get out? That's where I'm just saying we got to be careful. If the word gets out, and that's what was happening over there, that there's not room, you can't do that, and then it builds that whole story.
But I think what makes this maybe a little bit more complicated and a little bit different is what's so odd about Big Bend and Clarendon is that the district line for Big Bend is like all the way up here at Edgewood. I mean, it's people,
Right.
what, not even a mile from Clarendon are sent to Big Bend, but now we have people entering 4K in the Vernon area and are saying, oh, well, you can come into our schools if you drive 14 miles or whatever, it's not that much, but it takes about 18 minutes to get out to Clarendon, when if the lines are maybe a little different, I know we're not gonna redraw lines, but that's something to consider. Because if we're telling people, oh, you live out here, drive into Big Bend, you live in Big Bend, go to Clarendon, I mean,
Well,
obviously it's not a logical.
you can see the map over there in the corner, and those are in our elementary enrollment boundaries, and
Antique map.
they aren't geographically perfect, that's for sure.
Someday we'll have a
But our
board that
population isn't evenly distributed
the-
either.
Right.
So it is a challenge. If we would like to eventually have a 4K classroom in every elementary, that will require some redistricting. So changing the enrollment boundaries is always an emotional and challenging task, but we're certainly willing to take a look at that, if that's what you'd like us to do.
But we were talking.
Well, I just say keep it
5K.
in mind, keep it in the back of your head, because believe it or not, there are a lot of little kids in Vernon right now. A lot
That's-
of babies.
know.
That's
They're
great,
gonna be
and we'd
moving up,
love
so
to
you're
hear
gonna have
that.
to keep that in mind of,
It's happening all.
So just to clarify though, Erica,
You
if
made-
they were resident students, we would never turn them away
Right.
from the school where they live. So it's just open enrollment
Right.
placements that we have to pay attention to the enrollment. If they live in Big Bend and wanna attend Big Bend, we would never tell them
no,
they
I
can't.
get that, I get that.
Tim?
Just one thing that Art said, and I think is probably important in all of our dealings with the school, but we could have the greatest idea in the world, or someone could come up with the best invention, and unless there's someone there to market it, to get the word out, at some point commercialize it, it's not gonna go anywhere. So, I mean, like what Art was saying, sometimes you gotta take the risk and push forward with it. I mean, no discredit to what we've done in the past, but I think sometimes gotta err on the side of caution, hope for the best.
Just a question, actually, based on you saying that as a resident, you would never turn them away. I remember trying to get into a school of choice in Milwaukee. If you got in 4K, even as an open enrollment, your seat was guaranteed. All the way through. Like you couldn't then, once you got in, you couldn't be turned away from moving through the entire program. Is that something we could ever consider or think about?
So that, right, so once they're in 4K, they can be in the district, but again, she
School of choice.
could not just get into Big Bend. She was welcome at Clarendon, and he or she was welcome at Clarendon or Rolling Hills or wherever we had space.
Okay, we got a little off subject, but
What was the
4K,
It was the 4K.
keeping it, how many of you object to keeping it in the public
Keeping-
places?
I don't think.
Leaving
so.
it
Leaving
as
it
is. I
I'm okay.
Anybody
agree
object to
with
leaving it as is?
leaving it as
I'm
is.
okay
I
with
think
as
for
is.
years, we've always wanted
think
to
the
see our
majority of us.
options.
Yeah, but I think I'm not going to waste a lot of time, or their time actually, looking into it again when the majority of the board already has decided it will stay as is.
Yeah, if that's the case.
So Cherry's
may
We
not
have
here.
a lot of other things
I,
going
I,
on.
I do want to
And
just
Cherry does have a-
speak for Cherry real quickly here because she did stop in earlier today. And she, as you know, is very passionate about 4K and firmly believes that it should be in our buildings. And I would be remiss if I did not say that she would like to see a pilot in our buildings for next school year at least 1 or 2 sites.
I agree with her.
Well, it's too bad she's not here.
Don?
What are the, I can't remember where the community members are, who the community can we get a list of those, or maybe off the top of your head if you know 'em?
The community partner sites?
Yeah, who are
So the YMCA,
Right.
Kids Connection 1, Kids Connection 2, St. Paul's and Genesee Depot, St. Joe's and Big Bend, Vernon Child Development Center, and Little Lambs.
They're pretty spread out.
Okay, although I, again, really would love to see it in the building, we do remember that if we're gonna offer K-4 in a building, we have to address the busing issue. And
Yeah.
that's why we decided not to pursue it last
Right.
time. Was because we'd have to come up like with a whole contract, like parent driving contract.
Right, well, that's why we're asking now,
Right.
because it's October and we need to start investigating those things. Those
Okay.
all those same conversations that we brought up last time, we'd have to discuss.
So the
Okay.
board
So
members.
the only one I hear is,
Oh, there.
Oh, yeah.
okay, so the only board member I heard was Tim would like to
Sherry.
explore it, and Sherry.
She's
So
not
two.
here though.
Okay, so then we're gonna leave it
Still
as is for the next school year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Then the next issue is the calendar. And actually, I have an updated new calendar on
Is-
at your table.
Is this 3?
This
or-
is or I think, wait, what did I call it? I have to get my glasses.
Because there are 2, so.
2C.
You actually
So-
did label?
Don't get caught up in the weird numerical system
I was
I've
trying to
used.
figure out all the differences and.
Yeah, so
it was
2C
giving me a
is
headache.
the option that we're sharing with you tonight, and I'm looking for input. If you think that you're okay with us pursuing this, then I'm going to ask Sue Brezovar here at the district office to make sure that we have the correct number of hours, and then I'll meet with a few more staff to talk about it, because some staff, a number of staff, maybe all staff, will find something about this calendar that they do not like.
Really?
Because this is a significant change from what we've had for the last few years, and obviously the first change is starting before September 1st. In order to do that, we would have to get a waiver from the DPI. We have to apply before January 1. I do not anticipate that being a problem because of our major construction project. So again, this is a one-time calendar. This is not something that we would come back the following year unless the law changes for some reason. But we start on August 28th. That means that the staff would be back the 3rd week of August. So they'd be coming back on Monday, August 21 for professional development, in-service, that kind of stuff.
That's
Now,
the 4th
many of
week
them are back
August.
all, I'm sorry, what?
That's the 4th week of August. The 21st.
Oh, I guess, yes, you're right, if you,
Okay.
I guess
If I
it's
count the weeks.
Sean, aren't the teachers
not a
really
full
happy?
week, but,
Well,
Sean, aren't the teachers really happy about getting out, being done June 1st though?
right, and
So
then I
it's
think
kind of a
that
wash?
that if they take a look at the end of the calendar,
Yeah.
a lot of people will be happy that we get done on June 1st. And again, this is being driven by the high school construction project and the desire for C.G. Schmidt to have a much longer summer, or a longer summer of 2018, so they can complete the project.
Is that the major difference between, is the start and the end dates?
The start and the end date would be the major difference. The second major difference is spring break is not coinciding with Easter.
yeah, why
So
not?
if you recall, we talked about this summer, they would like spring break the 2nd week of March, and that is so they can start the second phase of remodeling on the 2nd floor. So they would have teachers move out of their classrooms, and that could be as many as 10 or so, and then they would start the demolition and remodeling during that spring break and get it completed before the end, by the end of the school year, so they can work on the other stuff in the summer.
And Good Friday's the 30th then?
Good Friday, we still had off, and that is March 30th. Easter is the 1st of April, which is an odd day for.
I'm just asking
I'm
this,
Greek, so.
Oh, that's right.
and it's probably, makes absolutely no sense, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Sure.
Is there any reason, or would it work at all to just adjust the schedule for the high school, leave the middle and elementary the same? Or is that a total
And then the
Totally
parents are
brain
supposed to
this
screw
idea.
up their entire.
So, I think
year
that's
if they
a,
wanted to go somewhere.
I think that's a fair question. That would increase our busing costs
Fair.
because we would be
Right.
doing busing on more than 180 days.
That would like family vacations though,
Right.
too.
Yeah,
You got
that's
kids
what-
like that.
They'd be screwed.
It means that at the, right at the so in the summer then, the last week of August, that means that some elementary students would be home and their older siblings would be in school. And that might create some consternation for some parents. If the board wants us to explore that, we can.
No. I
All
don't.
in favor?
Yeah.
Well, I just don't wanna, this is very selfish on my part. I don't
Obviously.
wanna walk through the door at my house and be told to sleep in the garage, but please don't ask the questions.
That's a
Good.
good idea to ask
Good
the question then.
I think the one that you gave us today, it makes sense. And,
Yeah. I
You
like
know, it
because
is just 1 year, and we're trying to accommodate.
And we're gonna make this perfectly clear to all parents,
Growth.
this is 1 year
Yeah.
calendar, especially with that Easter break.
Right.
And early starts are
We will-
nothing. Half the kids are in their gyms and stuff, and are on our fields, anyways.
And another positive of the early starts is that AP students now have an extra week to go ahead and study because everybody has the AP exam at the same time. And there's some states that they're starting a month or so earlier, and they get that extra month to go ahead and study for their AP exams and their AP classes. So
in private
personally, I
schools.
think it's a no-brainer, but
So I should add something to that. Max is correct that that is a disadvantage for students that are in AP classes in Wisconsin starting after September 1 because the College Board that grades the AP exams, they grade it on a curve. There's only a certain percentage of students every year that they give a 5 to. So what's your AP class right now, guys? Calc. So only a certain percentage of students can get a 5 on the AP Calc exam across the country. Only a certain percentage of students get a 4. It's graded on a bell curve. And so those students obviously that have more class days, and it's not just students in other states, it's students that are in private schools here in Wisconsin, they start the 3rd week in August. That means they're getting 2 additional weeks of instruction that our kids do not get. And obviously then they are better prepared for that exam, which every student takes at the same time, the first 2 full weeks of May.
Wow,
There is some
that's
talk in the legislature again that they will allow districts the flexibility to start before September 1. Now, whether or not that happens, I don't know.
that's
But
not
for, as
fair
far
at
as
all.
our
Wow.
purposes, our discussion right now, this calendar with the August 28th start and the spring break not connected to Easter would be for 1 year only. And we would communicate that with parents and staff.
and this might just be a shot in the dark here, but is there a possibility of having, because we were talking about summer school earlier, is there a possibility of having like an AP prep course for individual classes that people are enrolling in? I don't know if that'll infringe
No,
on
there is,
anything.
there is, and that's something I think that
Yeah.
we need to take a look at.
Can
more.
you do that online or?
No, I mean like the school would
Also?
facilitate that,
Right,
like on
right.
the exams that are a little bit more difficult, like calc, physics, those kind of classes, they would have a teacher come in and potentially teach a little bit, like an introductory section, so the students, when they come in, they're ready to go, and it's like a little bit of a prepper kind of thing.
Tim?
So, I can't remember when the Gregorian or Julian, whatever it is, American Easter, what day is it?
On 2018?
Yeah.
April 1st.
April 1st. Can't we do like a half day and then make up? Because we're not limited by the days at this moment. We're limited by time only, correct?
Half day on what day?
On what day?
Like the second or whatever, where everyone's having an issue, or the Good Thursday, whatever day.
Oh, they're coming loaded with
I don't
candy.
know.
So the
everyone's talking
Friday?
about the parents.
No, no,
They
no.
have off Good Friday.
Yeah, we have off.
Friday.
Yeah.
No, we were just talking about the parents if we
Oh, with
switch the schedule
right,
for the
all right.
elementary and the high school,
Yeah.
if they would.
All right.
American Easter?
Yeah, well, I'm Greg North that I, we
Yeah.
follow the old calendar.
To be be
It's only
honest,
the same Easter
from
one year,
what
one
I
year out of 4.
think I remember, this is something that probably, I think teachers would find not to be a big issue, especially getting off earlier. I don't think starting that much earlier is a big deal.
And getting a longer
So you're
summer
saying
in
you're
2018.
recommending this
They'll
as a-
they'll let us know.
Just remind them
Well,
we're
it
getting a
does.
longer summer break in 2018.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But this is all conditional, and if DPI gives us the waiver to start on the 28th?
I'm confident that they will provide
Okay.
that waiver because one of the things that they allow the waivers for are major construction projects.
Okay. So we're all liking 2C? The one he just
The
handed
last
today?
one.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Correspondence, legislation?
Yeah, so I included a couple articles in there. I don't know if anybody had a comment. One's a great article about Eagleville and the 167th anniversary celebration that they had, and Ron Schlick did a real nice job with Lauren Freeman, the reporter. And then the second is related to school funding, and it's probably time for us to start having conversations with our legislators. And I guess my question to you is, should I invite them here in front of the whole board? Or do you want us to meet with them on a personal basis, like I did last year?
Done like a personal basis. Anybody else?
So they sit here and with everybody here,
Say
they
everything.
grandstand a bit, you know, we love kids, there's just no money. You might have more impact if
Individual.
one-on-one.
I think those.
Because
were
they
better.
could save face one-on-one. They can't save face in front of 10 people.
And everybody's invited to those, and I'll make sure you know when the various different legislators are gonna meet. And then if you'd like to come in, great. More the merrier.
I
Why
just,
not both?
Go ahead.
Why not both? Why not invite them here also?
Well, because of what he says, I mean, as much as I wanna beat on him, it's a waste.
They're in
It is
front of the
really a
camera.
waste, because they say absolutely nothing, and when I meet them as a realtor, I have more results one-on-one than I ever have when they're talking to us. It's just
You give
a
too much
joke.
credit to politicians. Those who do it the 101, they'll do it the in front of everyone. It doesn't matter.
Well, then what does it
Yeah, but
matter?
I don't accept it, and when they sit here, even I have to be courteous to them, so.
Great, Jeff.
I just wanted to remark one more thing. If you get the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel this past Sunday, there was quite a long article which kind of did a review about Act 10 and
Mhm.
how it's impacted
Mhm.
school districts. It's a long read, but it's a good one. It really kind of gives perspective on things. And I think it's something you take a look at if you have time.
And the Business Journal had a real nice article that I forwarded also, that with teachers' pay, it has the ranking of teachers' pay throughout the entire state. Even lists administrators, I found someone's name right away.
So,
Because I
I
started
will-
from the top.
in my next board, what do I call it? The emails that I send you, weekly review
Updates.
update. Thanks, Art.
You're
Weekly
welcome.
update.
I
I'll send
read
you a
them.
link to the article that Jeff was referring to, and a link to the Business Journal article that Art was referring to.
Okay. Anybody else?
Just because I'm curious, can you send that to me too?
Sure. You better make a note, Max, otherwise I'll forget.
All right, board member questions? Moving on. Citizens' comments? Check. All right, motion to move into executive session? Okay, motion second. Jeff, roll call.
Tim Ogden.